They don't want anyone to have financial privacy or online privacy anymore. And that's what part of this agenda about a regulated internet is. And it directly ties in with stuff like a central bank digital currency, at least what people are concerned about a CBDC for, which is the surveillance capability and the programmability aspect. It's all tied up with this effort to regulate the internet, which isn't really fair to say it's regulating the internet. It's more like taking complete control of the internet, a complete coup of the internet for unprecedented surveillance and control of people's online lives. At the same time that you have these same entities pushing for people to live their lives online as much as possible, as part of the fourth industrial revolution and all of this other stuff. Like we saw in the COVID era, we're locking down. You can't go out and do stuff in the physical world. You have to be online as much as possible. Education's online. Work is online. As much of your life as possible has to be online now because you can't go in person to the bank. You can't go in person to this. You should order your groceries through your phone and all of this stuff, So they're pushing us more and more into the digital realm, and at the same time preparing to take more control of the digital realm than they have now by a significant degree. And that's not a coincidence. I'm sorry if you think that's coincidental. That's very naive of you.
As we delve into the realm of digital control and freedom, it becomes imperative to grasp the legislative landscape shaping our digital lives, especially as of 2024. The United States is witnessing significant legislative activity, highlighted by the introduction of new state privacy laws in Texas, Florida, Oregon, Montana, and Washington. These laws, taking effect this year, focus on critical domains such as artificial intelligence, children's privacy, and the handling of consumer health data. This legislative surge echoes Whitney Webb's concerns regarding the erosion of financial and online privacy. Of particular note is the potential impact of these laws on the policy landscape surrounding artificial intelligence, a technology increasingly integrated into our daily routines. For instance, California's Privacy Protection Agency has proposed rules that could establish a new benchmark for automated decision-making technology. This move could set a precedent influencing both other states and federal policies. Such legislative trends reflect a growing awareness and response to the surveillance capabilities inherent in digital technologies and financial systems, echoing the concerns raised by Webb. In summary, the emergence of these state privacy laws signifies a proactive response to the evolving challenges posed by digital control and privacy erosion. These legislative efforts are poised to shape policy developments, particularly in the realm of AI, and underscore a broader recognition of the need to safeguard individual privacy rights in the digital age.
When you're talking about the powers that be, there's competing factions, right? Not all of them agree, but they agree about a lot of the stuff. And a lot of the way these people operate isn't that similar to how rulers operated hundreds of years ago. They want complete and control of money and political power and power more broadly, because then they can do whatever they want for themselves and have a double standard for themselves, but force other people to live a certain way to support their lifestyle. And essentially what we're seeing here is an effort to use technology to entrench that in unprecedented ways so that there's no more need to worry about the peasants revolting. As an example, this push for a regulated internet and the end of online anonymity and all of that is directly related to the fact that it's a mathematical inevitability that our debt-based monetary system will collapse at some point, and that the banking system, particularly Wall Street and its global equivalents, have engaged in an unprecedented degree of malfeasance and corruption and insane financial gambling activities. And just like 2008, right? That's going to explode at some point. But in 2008, people knew it was the banks and they were mad at the banks, weren't they? So if you're the banks and that's going to happen again, and you're in bed with the intelligence agencies and the government, or in the case of the US, you own the central bank, right? You don't want that to happen again. So how do you find a way to blame somebody else for the financial system imploding? And when you bring the financial system back, what do these people, people like Jamie Dimon and all these top bankers, like what is their ideal scenario for money and how people interact with and use money? Well, being able to grift as much as you want and take as much as you want from the people under you without them knowing or complaining, because that's what they've been doing for decades, right? Wall Street. So they want to keep doing that. They don't want to change their behavior. So they want to find a way to be able to steal from the underclass as much as possible without the underclass complaining or revolting, and control how they spend their money, and control their financial and other behavior so that they can maintain their place on the top. So what we're having is the engineering of a neo-feudal society where you have the small upper class and then a massive underclass that the upper class can manipulate and control and do whatever they want with as they see fit. And so that's what I think the ambition of a lot of these various initiatives we're seeing for unprecedented control and surveillance are aimed at. And the goal is to use technology, whether it's AI or any of these other emerging technologies, to be able to do that, because obviously there's so much more of us than there are of them. And so in order to scale what they want to scale, to be able to deal with the huge difference in size between their class and our class, they feel like, they need these emerging technologies. They need AI. And that's why I see AI as a largely negative thing, because the people that want to do this are the ones setting it up and programming it and deciding what its objectives are.
As we peer into the future of digital sovereignty, recent regulatory initiatives within the U.S. financial system offer tangible context to Whitney Webb's discussions. The provisions laid out in acts like the Anti-Money Laundering Improvement Act of 2020 and the Corporate Transparency Act are designed to bolster financial transparency and combat money laundering. These regulations entail heightened reporting standards and data collection, serving as tools for financial institutions to adhere to customer due diligence requirements. This regulatory framework underscores a heightened emphasis on the transparency and accountability of financial transactions and ownership. However, it also prompts inquiries into the delicate equilibrium between regulatory oversight and individual privacy. Webb's discourse on the elite's control over financial systems transcends mere economic influence. It encompasses the strategic deployment of technology and regulatory frameworks to maintain and consolidate power. Understanding how technology is harnessed to enforce these controls is pivotal in comprehending the dynamics of power in our contemporary era.
How do people get into the elite? Not everyone that's in the elite today was born into it, right? I mean, they cultivate into their ranks people that are like, psychopaths, right?
Do you get a tap on the shoulder?
Controlled by greed and all of that stuff to come flesh it out, right? Or people they think are talented that they think they can use, and that will, if they're offered a big piece of the pie or a big enough piece of the pie, will join them, right? So it's not like these people are the people that have been there since the 1500s and, they're all still that today, you know what I mean? But I mean, in terms of the behavior of like a ruling elite, it's very similar to what it was in the feudal era, like in the Dark Ages, which again, how did the Dark Ages succeed so successfully in that? Extreme control of information. It was all in the church, right? No one knew how to read and write but them. So it was, again, centralized control of information and also of money. And we're going to that same paradigm again, but, for the modern era. So all this technology is going to try and set up those systems for us. And I think people need to be really aware of all these, in the next couple of years, without a doubt, there's going to be these events, whether it's like COVID or 9/11 or whatever, they're not going to be the same as those, but they're going to be these big events that generate a lot of fear and panic, and mainstream media is going to be traumatizing people with it, and then are going to sell a particular solution. And when it comes for the internet, or the financial system, they're going to make the enemy privacy. They're going to make the enemy privacy 100%. And the solution is going to be digital IDs and programmable, surveillable money. It doesn't have to be CBDCs, by the way. I mean, CBDCs, I think most people know, are going to be that, but it doesn't. It's not just CBDCs. There is a goal, there is a push from the banks themselves, some of the most powerful banks in the world, to have, at least in some countries, a different system that's not a CBDC, because with a CBDC, they can't do fractional reserve banking. And so that's what deposit tokens are all about. Tokenizing deposits, and you can make those programmable and you can surveil them. And it's really just like a CBDC, but they won't call it that. But then the bank controls all the reserves, and maybe they'll bank some of their reserves at the Fed, or whatever, but they can still do fractional reserve banking and credit creation and all of this stuff, and not actually have to keep a one-to-one peg of reserves like CBDCs or like a fiat peg stablecoin. And so there's a push for that too at an international level. It's not just in in the US, but it's definitely happening in the US. And I would argue that's one of the reasons that you have the Federal Reserve, which is again owned by Wall Street banks in the US, being like, we're not going to do a direct issued CBDC. And freedom advocates in the US are like, yeah, the Fed's on our side because of that. No, it's not. The Fed is 100% always on the side of Wall Street banks, and Wall Street banks only don't want a CBDC because they don't want to give the Federal Reserve their power. They want to keep their power, and they want to keep doing fractional reserve banking.
As we explore the future of digital sovereignty, recent regulatory endeavors within the U.S. financial system offer tangible context to Whitney Webb's discussions. The revisions introduced under acts like the Anti-Money Laundering Improvement Act of 2020 and the Corporate Transparency Act aim to bolster financial transparency and combat money laundering. These regulations introduce a heightened level of reporting and data collection, which financial institutions will employ to adhere to customer due diligence rules. This regulatory framework underscores an augmented emphasis on the transparency and accountability of financial transactions and ownership. However, it also prompts scrutiny regarding the delicate balance between regulatory oversight and individual privacy. Webb's discourse on the elite's control over financial systems transcends mere economic influence. It encompasses the strategic utilization of technology and regulatory frameworks to uphold this power. Understanding how technology is harnessed to enforce these controls is pivotal in comprehending the dynamics of power in our contemporary era. For more Daily Dose Crypto news, check out these 2 awesome videos on your screen. Click now and we will see you on the next video.